Hi Anand, I thought today we will talk about what's happening in Europe, not only the war and the economic implications of this war which is happening. They're saying Europe is already in stagflation or heading to stagflation, and France is already there. We have done a video about what Macron's going to struggle with. I thought we'll talk about in the wider context what's happening in Europe, and you can elaborate a little bit about what stagflation is to start with.
Okay. Stagflation is low growth, practical recession, and inflation being higher than the growth. So, stagnation plus inflation is stagflation. This was by a British politician to describe the situation in 1960s and early 70s when the developed world saw huge inflation and it moved to America, and the entire decade of 70s and up to leading up to 80 when Volcker came was a period of high inflation and low growth. And this is what is called as stagflation. Is
So,
basic.
what is stagnant in
The economy is stagnant.
Economy, there's no growth in the
There,
economy.
there is no growth, practically no growth.
And at the same time, prices are
rising.
rising. So
Like
that's
now
okay.
in
Understood.
France,
Understood. Okay.
the growth is 1%, but prices are galloping faster. The guy before Volcker, I think its name is McBurn or some Scottish name. What he said is there is something as a concept of core inflation. I don't believe in that. That you strip food and fuel from it and see what is core inflation. And he kept on saying core inflation is under control. So Europe has this fancy belief that inflation will never go above 2% and they can print all the money they wanted. And but what happened is even before this war started, the COVID relief money which they transferred had started to create inflation. They blamed it on the supply chain issues, saying that China there is supply chain issue and that is why there is a huge problem. But the problem is, like Friedman said, inflation is always and will remain a monetary phenomenon.
Okay.
If you had not printed money and handed over, more money wouldn't have chased less goods and services, and inflation would have occurred. And that is what has happened. And now what has made things worse is the entire Europe after 91 is dependent on Russian gas.
Correct.
Thinking they have conquered communism forever or any form of authority. Any authoritarian government will not be there. Gazprom was supplying nearly a fifth of what Europe needs. And now Gazprom is now hit back by saying is you have to pay us not in euros, but you have to pay us in ruble. And the gas is transiting through Bulgaria and Poland. And he has said Bulgaria and Poland we will not supply gas. And Germany is under enormous pressure from Ukraine to give them military aid and stop buying Russian oil. Germany was doing wishy-washy.
Yeah, I think in the first 4 months, 3 months of the war, they gave 9 billion euros to Russia or something. Some crazy amount of
money. And now they have said that they will do an oil embargo. And they have said they will aid the Ukrainians with weapons.
Yeah.
So it's ratcheted up a bit. This is because Putin said that the nuclear weapons are not off the table. So Germany realizes that they could also be in trouble. So all this has meant higher fuel prices and higher food prices because the breadbasket of Europe is Russia and Ukraine. They are the largest exporter of wheat and the fifth largest exporter of the wheat. So the largest exporter of wheat is out of the window, and the fifth largest exporter of wheat is also out of the window. And the largest producers of sunflower oil is also out of the window. So all this has meant that food prices and crude prices have shot up.
Okay. So what is this danger of stagflation? Why is it so?
That
you always
means
said it's very dangerous to get into stagflation.
Because your inflation is very high and you have no growth. What is the cue for inflation? Is higher interest rates.
Correct. Which slows down growth.
Yeah, so already low growth. And to kill inflation, you really increase interest rates. This growth will become recession. What is recession? Recession is 2 quarters of negative growth.
Correct.
So if in France is one,
economy contracts.
Your economy contracts. Like the American economy has contracted, but has very high inflation. That's a classic stagflation. So it had minus 1.5% growth and a very high inflation of 8.5. So this is a trouble at one time where the economic activity is not picking up, has slowed down. Prices are extremely high and unemployment is falling. That means it's gone down Nairu. Nairu is the natural rate of employment below which if you do, the inflation goes up.
Correct.
So inflation is climbing. At the same time, economy is contracting. To crush inflation, you have to increase interest rates.
True.
When you
This is
increase,
something what Japan went through, you used to tell me, right?
no, this is what Europe went through and America went through between 77 and 80.
Great. Okay. That's the
So
time of
40
Margaret
years.
Thatcher and all that.
The basically labor lost power, and the Jimmy Carter's presidency was completely tarnished by this inflation.
Inflation.
So now what you have to do is they have to increase interest rates.
Hmm.
The longer you wait,
The worse it gets.
the worse it gets, the higher, because people are used to it. Because economics is 99%
Social science.
social science and psychology basically.
Correct.
So if every time you cry wolf,
Hmm.
the central bank comes to save you, you assume that it will always come to you.
Save you. Yeah.
So now the central bank is in a catch 22 situation where it cannot ease money. If it tries to ease money also, they will get into a problem because inflation will go further.
Right.
If you increase interest rates, already an economy which is sinking will sink further. That's exactly what is happening.
But the role of all these central banks, major role for all of them is to control inflation, right? The main,
Yes.
main prime
Yeah, but they
directive of
never thought that this is inflation, no?
Hmm.
You live in denial thinking that this is inflation.
Hmm.
You say that there is no inflation,
Hmm.
and you have been denying it.
Hmm.
And you have denied inflation for a long time.
Hmm.
And suddenly it poops up on you and saying this is inflation. And now you still thought it is transitionary for 6 months. Even when somebody as Democrat as who's a Democrat, Larry Summers said that this is
Correct.
not simple.
Correct.
They kept on the wheel and they have just increased 0.25.
Yeah.
They have now said they will increase at 0.5 in end of May. So if you come to end of May and increase by 0.5 and follow it up by 0.5 in June, what would have taken you 6 months, you have done in 3 months.
Hmm.
At the same time, the size of the balance sheet of the Fed, which is actually a treasury's balance sheet, is basically how much you have lent to the government, and whatever corporate and real estate debt you are owning has gone from 1 trillion to 9 trillion. So you expanded your money supply by 9 times, whereas your economy has not gone up 9 times. Normally, increase in money supply should be equal to increase in economy. The economy went up 60%, not even doubled.
Correct.
Whereas you have increased your money supply 9 times. Obviously, there will be inflation, and this inflation is now beginning to bite. So now they said they'll do two things. They will increase interest rates and they will decrease money supply. When they actually, so the baby is now used to it for the last 20 years.
Correct.
That this central banker will save you.
Correct.
Now the central banker is in no position to save you. He has to increase interest rates. And when he increases interest rates, there will be deep recession.
And I think because
and that is what the US Treasury has been telling us. It has been an inverted yield curve.
For quite some time.
Okay, what is inverted yield curve? Normally, the longer period you lend, the higher interest you get.
Correct.
An inverted yield is when long-term interest rates are cheaper than short-term rates. An inverted yield normally represents a recession, and US has had a recession already now. But this is not the beginning. It will have a much deeper recession.
And because, like you rightly said, that this has been going on for 20 years, the current generation of young adults who have entered the employment sector, they have no idea, clue of what it was before.
If you are an American, you won't know what is inflation.
Correct.
It was happened in 1980.
Yes.
You were born in 1976.
Correct.
Even I wouldn't have known much.
Correct.
Because I was born in 67.
Correct.
I would have been in my short pants when it happened.
Correct.
So
all the kids who were born in the 1990s.
Those who are born after 1975 will have no idea.
No clue.
So this is the first time they will see an inflationary spiral. And the policy holders also have retired and gone. These policy holders know only the theory. They have read the paper.
Correct.
This is the first time they are actually seeing
it in reality.
So you have to break it. You have to break. And this is why the euro, as I have said twice, thrice in this program, the euro is down 10% in 1 year and the yen is down 30%. Because in Japan there is no inflation.
Correct.
So he is not going to increase interest rates.
Correct.
That's why the yen has fallen 30% in 1 year.
Correct. What does this all mean in Indian context?
India is also in stagflation. We have
been telling us about some time.
Yeah. Your wholesale price index is at 14%. You're growing at 6 or 7%. And this 6-7% is because you are keeping the deflator, the inflation, assuming it's 3%, 4%.
Correct.
If you assume 8% inflation, you will have 2-3% growth and 14% inflation. You are also having stagflation. But we have a history professor for a Reserve Bank governor who is sleeping on the wheel.
True. Anyway, I think they've given us a good insight on what's happening in Europe and the context within India. So let's wait and watch them.
Thank you for watching Beerage. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell notification. If you do not turn on the bell notification, you will be not notified every time we put out a video. I have written 2 books in English, The Alchemy of Money and Ordinary Stocks, Extraordinary Profits. These books are published by us and are ready. If you want to procure a copy, send us a message to the WhatsApp number given below and my team would respond to you. If you want an Amazon Kindle copy, you can click the link below. Finally, those who wish to consult with me can send a mail to bericenglish@gmail.com. Once again, I thank you for your support.